Hello, everybody. My name is John Crum, and I'm a PhD candidate here at Penn State. And today I am proud to present my work looking at scaling state-level punitiveness to drug offenders during the opioid epidemic. Understanding state-level punitiveness has garnered a great amount of attention in criminology. Now, by punitiveness, what I'm referring to is the harshness and the severity of punishments given by the criminal justice system. Now, prior research has focused a lot of attention on creating accurate measures of punitiveness. Now, what prior studies have done is looked at various policies and created a scale of punitiveness based on these policies. But typically, these studies have looked at punitiveness in a general sense to all offenders. Thus, we are missing measures of punitiveness to specific type of offenders, particularly drug offenders. Now, focusing on drug offenders is important because they're a unique class of offenders who, in the eyes of society and policymakers, are in need of treatment instead of incarceration. Now, comprehending punitiveness is vital, particularly now as we are in the opioid epidemic. And understanding the impact of punitiveness is important as it can have an impact on overdose, treatment access, and reintegration. This current study fills the gap of prior literature by creating a state-level drug offender punitiveness scale. Now, this scale utilizes various policies that focus solely on drug offenders. The table here shows the policies that I chose, the coding, and also the range of values for each policy, with higher values denoting more punitive attitudes. The policies chosen were heroin possession penalties up for 1 gram of first-time offenders, food stamp and welfare bans, mandatory minimum driver's license suspensions to drug offenders, naloxone access, Good Samaritan, medical marijuana, and recreational marijuana laws. Now, to create the scale, first I calculated the reliability of the scale with Cronbach's alpha. Now, because the policies had various levels of measurement, I standardized the scale. Next, I utilized principal component factor analysis to understand if the scale created one unidimensional construct of punitiveness. Table 1 presents the scale reliability results. Now, if we look in the right-hand corner, the Cronbach alpha coefficient is above 0.7. Now, when the alpha is above 0.7, this indicates that the scale has adequate reliability. To understand if punitiveness to drug offenders was a unidimensional construct, I estimated a principal component factor analysis. Now, the results from the PCF shows that there are actually 3 factors and that punitiveness isn't a unidimensional construct. This is known by the fact that the variances are all above 1. Table 3 shows the factor loadings of the policies on the punitive scale of drug offenders. Particularly, it shows that there are 3 dimensions in these factors. The first factor represents a public health punitiveness dimension. This is seen by the fact that NALs, GSLs, MMLs, and RMLs all load onto this factor. The second factor represents collateral consequence punitiveness, and this is seen by the fact that food stamp bans and welfare bans are on this factor. The last factor represents criminal justice punitiveness, and this is seen by the fact that mandatory driver's license suspensions and heroin possession sentence length for 1 gram for first-time offenders plus medical marijuana is loaded onto this factor. Now, this first graph shows the state-level public health punitiveness broken down by U.S. Census region from 1999 to 2018. Now, what can be seen is that punitiveness to public health is generally stable until 2010, which is when heroin dominated the opioid epidemic. Next, we see state-level collateral consequence punitiveness, and here we see a different approach. We see that punitiveness actually decreased in the early 2000s, remained stable, and then fluctuated from 2010 on in states. Lastly, we see state-level criminal justice punitiveness, which stays stable and then decreases around 2010 and then fluctuates. In conclusion, drug policies did create a scale for punitiveness, but it was not unidimensional, as 3 dimensions were discovered. The results show that punitiveness is generally decreasing over time, though this is heavily driven by changes to public health punitiveness. Collateral consequence and criminal justice punitiveness did lower from its 1999 high, but this did fluctuate in later years. The implication of this research is that the scale could be useful to understand how states compare and contrast in regards to punitiveness, and also the scale can be used to gauge how punitiveness impacts various outcomes. Lastly, I would like to thank the Penn State College of Liberal Arts for the funding of this research.